Hi, I'm Linda from paperboutiquewithlinda.com. I love all things Anna Griffin, especially her glittered stickers. This sticker is part of one of her Christmas card kits, and I thought it would be fun to try to make my own. And I actually made these using glitter paper and some of Anna's dies. There are so many varieties of glitter paper, and many of them require a different technique, and I'll demonstrate the technique in a few minutes. This process that I'm going to show you should work with most wafer thin dies, but I've only tested the process using Anna's dies. And the most important component when cutting these dies is the type of paper that you use. And I found the easiest to use paper was from Anna Griffin, which I purchased on HSN. It's a very finely glittered paper, but the most important thing about the paper when using intricate wafer dies is the backing. The backing on Anna Griffin's paper is more like a cardstock, and that makes it a little bit easier to cut. So her paper comes in the silver and gold. So that was the easiest. I'm just going to slide these aside. And then the second easiest, and I love how this turned out, paper to use, is from Michaels, and it's the Recollections paper, and it has a beautiful finish as well. Now the paper, and this happens to be their Christmas Noel package, the paper's a little bit different. I'm going to pull this back. You can see it's just very glittery, but the backing of the paper is, it's cardstock back, but there's just a little bit of a vinyl feel to it, not much. And that made it also easy to cut. The fun thing about Michael's glitter paper is it comes in numerous colors. Oh, look at this Recollection pack. Look at how absolutely stunning those colors are. So that was the second easiest paper to use. Now for the next paper, it certainly gave me what I thought was the prettiest result, but it's the most challenging. And I want to do a close-up of this because this glitter paper is just like micro glitter, and when you cut it, it almost feels like it's flocked. It's just simply beautiful. However, it does take a little bit of patience to work with it. Let me tell you where I purchased this. This particular paper is from Die Cuts with a View that I happened to get at Joann's. And this one's the glitzy glitter. They also have the pastel stack. Now the reason this paper is so challenging to work with, and I wish you could feel it, you can see I'm bending this paper and it's not even creasing. It's almost like a vinyl rubbery feel to it, and that makes it one of the most challenging to cut. But it's really worth the extra effort. However, the most difficult, I'm going to move these away, it's paper that's very similar, is the paper that I found from Hobby Lobby, and I'll see if you can see that. I've kind of got gray on gray going, I'm not sure. A Hobby Lobby paper, which is packaged under the Paper Studio, and let me show you, their Glam Glitter package is the most difficult, I thought, to cut. And you may find it is easier in your machine, but I found it the most challenging. Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful glitter, and it's just microfine. But it, very much like the Die Cuts with a View, and even more so, you can see it's not crinkling or putting creases in. The backing, it feels like almost pure vinyl. So that gives it a little bit of a challenge with the cutting. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a minute and pause, and then I'll bring in the machine and I'll show you how to cut a couple of these and some of the techniques I learned. The first thing I'd like to show you how to cut using my big kick is the Anna Griffin paper, and like I said, it's the easiest, and here's an example of that. I am using my Sizzix Big Kick. I have the platform on tab number 2, and then let me reach over here and get my cutting plates. I have the plate on the bottom, which I call the Do Not Cut plate, and then what I'm going to use is an Anna Griffin die, and I'm going to place it face up the cutting ridges are face up. Then I'm going to put a small piece of her glitter paper face down. And this is my cutting plate. I label it cutting, so I know that I'm going to be cutting into it. And then what I'm going to do, and it might slip around just a little bit because I'm on a little slippery surface, but all I'm going to do is run it through the machine. And it does take quite a bit of strength, especially with the thick glitter paper. And then I'm going to run it back. But something that I do a little bit differently, you can see it looks like it's cut. And normally when you run it forwards and backwards, but if there's a spot that isn't cutting, even though you're running it backwards, it'll continue to not cut that spot. So what I like to do with the thicker paper is just put it on another, let me move that in, another spot on my cutting plate and then cut it again. Doesn't matter where you put it, but just somewhere else. And as you can see, it's cut, and I'm going to use this tool. And it's the Spellbinders Tool-in-One, and I've done a video on this tool. I cannot live without it. And what you can do is just run the brush along the back, and a lot of it will just come right out immediately. And what doesn't, you can just kind of poke through, and I'll pull this piece out. And then I just use this part to poke into the small holes. I hope you can see that up close. Poke into these little holes to separate it. And if I turn it over, you'll be able to see that. And I just pull really gently, and look at, let me move some of this out. I almost need a piece of white paper. I'll grab this so you can see. There's how beautiful that cut. It cut perfectly, and it's the easiest paper to cut. Well, I'll go ahead and clean up my mess, and then I'll show you how to cut the most difficult paper. We're going to cut this glitter paper next that has that vinyl feel to the back of it, and I'm going to show you the technique. It's certainly worth the extra effort, but let me just move those aside. To do this technique, you're going to need what is called a precision base plate from Sizzix. This is not the cutting surface, and I really want to stress this. If you use this as the cutting surface, it will separate this plate and ruin it. So you're going to use the back of it actually as the cutting surface. So for this technique, you're going to use tab number 2. I'm going to put on what is called, once again, the precision base plate, the glitter paper, and this particular piece is from the Hobby Lobby, the Paper Studio, real vinyl backing. I mean, it feels like real vinyl. The same technique will work for the die cuts with a view glitter paper. The die ridges face down. Now this will cut into this base plate. It will cut into this base plate, but it still will leave an impression. So make sure when you're using it, you've got your cutting plate on top. And since this is a new cutting plate, you'll be able to see. So you've got your tab number 2, your precision plate, your paper, your intricate die, and then this. And this is going to be a little bit harder to cut through because you've got that really thick paper. And you can see I'm really struggling with it, but the precision plate is just a little bit thicker. And once again, this is too hard to go back through. So what I'm going to do is I take it out, and I want to put this in a different position. I want to put it through again because this paper is really very challenging to cut. And then I've moved it, so hopefully we're going to be hitting all of it. And like I said, this requires some real strength. And when you use that precision plate, don't be surprised that you're going to have to work a little bit harder. So let's see how this turned out. Okay, now you can see that it's cut, but what's interesting about this is even though it's cut, it doesn't necessarily come out like the other did. Some of the pieces will come out, and then some, it's almost like you have to pull them apart by hand. Let me show you. I'm hoping I'm staying in camera. Let me push some of these out using the tool. It's a little bit more challenging and a little bit more difficult to get that out, but I think it's worth the effort. Okay, now I want to show you, let me move this out of the way. You've got a couple pieces there and you've got one here. Now I don't know if you can see, but sometimes, I'll get really close here, sometimes there's like this little bit, it's almost like a part of the vinyl backing that sticks. What I found is really easy to take that off is just to put it down and then brush it with this, and it should take, yep, I think we got most of it. You can see there's just a little piece there. So it takes a little massaging. And when you're using, let me show you this pad, when you're using this glitter paper from Die Cuts with a View, use the precision plate, but it doesn't have a tendency to have that little bit of plastic around it. It'll cut a lot cleaner. Well, I would like to thank you for watching, and please visit me at www.paperboutiquewithlinda.com for more projects and ideas. Bye-bye.